Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Marik, I run the Jerusalem Press Club. I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank my colleagues for facilitating this event. And please switch off your cell phones or turn them into silent mode. And today we are happy to host two scholars from the Jerusalem Institute for Policy Research. Marik Shtern, researcher at the Jerusalem Institute for Policy Research, a student, PhD student at the Department of Politics and Government at Ben-Gurion University, specializing in political geography of divided cities, Jerusalem in particular, focusing on how political power relations shape daily life and produce spatial segregation and integration. And Ahmad Asmar, hope I pronounce it right. Ahmad, a researcher also at the Jerusalem Institute for Policy Research, MA student at the Department of Islamic and Middle Eastern Studies at the Hebrew University. He deals with issues related to East Jerusalem, the relations between Palestinians and Israelis in the city. He used to work as a reporter for East Jerusalem affairs in various media outlets. A word about the Jerusalem, maybe you guys tell us about the Jerusalem Institute for Policy Research. It's all on their website, so I'm sure all the studies and researches are online, so feel free to look into it and learn more. So guys, please, this is part of a series done by Raya Koval-Umansky over there, who's not only organizing it, but also filming us and taking pictures and making sure everything is okay. It's a series that she runs about the 50th anniversary of the unification of Jerusalem, and we try to bring different perspectives on the city. So, gentlemen, please.
So first of all, it wasn't mentioned, but both of us are Jerusalemites as well as being researchers.
Goes without saying, I thought.
No, it's not goes without saying. We live in the city, two of us, all of our lives, one in West Jerusalem and East Jerusalem. 3 years ago, we started to study, at least at this institute, a field that weren't in a focus until now. There's a lot of research done on East Jerusalem itself, its neighborhood, its economic conditions, political issues, and etc. At the same time, research is done on West Jerusalem, as though there are two separate cities, which in many ways they are, but we decided to focus about the interconnections between two cities that have been created in the last 50 years. Not only on the physical basis, but also economic, social, geographical, and etc. About the institute itself, the Jerusalem Institute, we used to call, was named Jerusalem Institute for Israel Studies, now have changed its name, was established in 1978 in Jerusalem by Teddy Kollek, the mythological mayor of the city, supported by the Hebrew University back then. Now it's not supported by the university. And I think it's one of the most appreciated and legitimized institute dealing with Jerusalem. We're non-political. We work with all sides of in the table, around the table, if it's the Israeli government, municipality, both NGOs, Israeli and Palestinians, and even the Palestinian Statistical Bureau is using our data when they are writing about Jerusalem. So usually what we produce has broad legitimization and considered as facts and objective information. So maybe I'll do this kind of a short introduction of our study, and later on Ahmad will also introduce himself and we can ask questions. So we're dealing with post-Oslo Jerusalem. Post-Oslo Jerusalem, I mean Jerusalem, especially after the 2005, the end of the Second Intifada, marking in a way the collapse of the Oslo Accord, at least for Jerusalemites. I chose this period because I think we see different trends in Jerusalem since 2005, especially relating to the relationship between East Jerusalem and West Jerusalem. In essence, we see the city going through further integration, space integration of our daily life between East and West Jerusalem, which carries a very specific characterizations in a way. And I called it unplanned shared spaces because the city is not planned actually to be united, although, you know, everybody talks about united Jerusalem, but it was actually planned since 67 in a segregated way. For example, if you look at the Jerusalem plan for 2000, which is the last official planning document, we talk about 3 separate business districts in Jerusalem. One in the city center, what's called the general population, another one in the Haredi Jerusalem, right, around Malchei Israel Street, and the third one in East Jerusalem. Okay, and I will show you next that the logic of the Israeli planning authorities until now is logic that thinks through segregation. Segregation between communities, it might be easier to handle. Okay, if everyone lives separately, you minimize, maybe you can minimize the conflicts and etc. But again, in the last 10 years, we see newly created shared spaces, mostly in West Jerusalem, in which you can see a growing presence of Palestinians from East Jerusalem coming to the parks, working spaces, and etc. Why does it happen? Basically, from the Oslo Accord and after the Second Intifada, we see a process of, how do you say, a degradation of the status of East Jerusalem from being the center, the metropolitan of the West Bank, meaning if people from Ramallah or Bethlehem used to come and shop or pray or work in East Jerusalem, after the installation of the checkpoints and the walls and etc., they can't do it anymore. And East Jerusalem has lost its status and de facto became what I call it an Israeli periphery in a way, right? But in many ways it led to a social economic crisis in East Jerusalem because it lost its primary economic status, which we can see leads to a lot of implications, but if I will try to narrow it down, from one side we see radicalization, national radicalization, because of its entrapment by Israel. On the other side, and sometimes at the same time, we see trends of Israelization, what I call pragmatic Israelization, adopting some kinds of new patterns of behavior that were in a kind of a taboo before, like going to a Hebrew university, engaging in a more serious way within the Israeli labor market, studying Hebrew, and even applying for Israeli citizenship. Not that it means that the Palestinians became Zionists, even the opposite, but it has become a legitimate way of surviving in this kind of a situation. This is just a known map representing the wall, right, and the disattachment of the West Bank. But again, I talked about socioeconomic distress, so we see that the level of the poverty rate in East Jerusalem has gotten to new heights in last years. This is from 2014. 79% of families in East Jerusalem are living below the Israeli poverty line, comparing to 21% of the Jewish families. 82% of the persons comparing to 28%, and 87% of the children comparing to 41%, right? This is official data of the Israeli National Security Authority, the Social Security. And we relate the fact that so many people has found themselves under the poverty line exactly to this economic degradation and the fact that many businesses has shut down, and in many ways East Jerusalem has lost its economic vitality during the past decade, which leads to much more dependency upon the Israeli labor market and Israeli services in many ways. And of course that those neighborhoods who has been caught beyond the fence, but within the Israeli municipality, suffer in much more extent from these processes in many ways, because they don't get any municipal services whatsoever, but they can still go and work in West Jerusalem. They still have free access. They need to cross the checkpoint, but they don't need a daily permit or something like that. And maybe what is called the Jerusalemite Intifada in the last 2 years is a kind of explosion of some of those distresses that has been created in the last decade, in a way. But then at the same time, we see a Jerusalemite Intifada led by Palestinians from Jerusalem, and we also see a rise in the number of applications to Israeli citizenship in East Jerusalem again. So this kind of the paradox of the last decade that we see in Jerusalem. This is the number of applications that has risen from almost nothing before 2004 to almost 2,000 a year. Israeli authorities approved approximately half of them every year, but in the last 2 years stopped even dealing with those applications. Probably it was related to the wave of terror or new policy. We don't know who decides that. It's something that is stopped processing the applications at all right now. So in a way, this process of Israelization is not being fostered by the Israeli government, although some might say it would be our interest that Palestinians will obtain Israeli citizenship as a proof for the union of the city, but it's not. So also when we discuss shared spaces in West Jerusalem, we have to remember that those spaces are unplanned and are created because of the disconnection of East Jerusalem from its Palestinian hinterland. And in many ways, the metaphor you can see is that the Palestinians stand with their back to the wall, and what they see is West Jerusalem, right, in the future, or Israel. This is the future that can be seen from that point of view, in a way. Again, I talked a bit, maybe I'll jump that, but the Jerusalem Master Plan really sees a real advantage in the segregation between populations. This is official document. It limits the potential source of conflict, right? This is why I say that those shared spaces are unplanned, okay, or unintended. We studied the labor market, and we saw that in 2011, this is the data, almost half of the Palestinians from East Jerusalem were employed in the Israeli labor market. Okay, every one of 2 workers going to work not in East Jerusalem, going to work in West Jerusalem or other Israeli cities, while Jews almost, I don't know, never work under Palestinian employers, okay? So it implies the strict balance of power between those 2 populations. It's the Palestinians who are being employed by the Israeli, and you can see almost total economic dependencies of the Palestinians in East Jerusalem on the Israeli labor market, because it's not only half of the jobs, it's also the jobs which pay more, the more steady jobs, and etc. So there's a vast dependency, and of course, when you look at the economic sectors in which Palestinians are employed in West Jerusalem, you see a dual dependency, because some sectors like tourism or transportation, construction, the basic infrastructure of the city is based on Palestinian workers in many ways. I can give you an example. When 2 years ago there was ideas in the Israeli government to shut off the Palestinian neighborhoods because of the terror attacks coming from some of those neighborhoods, immediately there was this kind of organization of the heads of industry, of hotel industry, and some other economic sectors calling for the government not to do that because they would be left out. Without the workers, they can't function. Okay, so it's kind of dual dependency, but a polarized one, right? Because it's not equal. Just a number to show what kind of jobs Palestinians do in West Jerusalem. This is in blue, so we see overrepresentation in occupations such as skilled workers in manufacturing and construction, 73% of the workers, or 50% of the unskilled workers, and etc., while you see low participation in occupations such as managers, academic professionals, or practical engineers. I will go on. Anyway, we still see slight dynamics in this picture, because if you compare the situation in 1980 comparing to 2010, right, 30 years of a period, you do see that while in 1980 Palestinians from East Jerusalem used to work only in construction or manufacturing, blue workers, unprofessional blue workers, today you do see Palestinians in professional jobs. It's the minority, but approximately 25% of the Arabs employed in the Jewish sector of Jerusalem are employed in scientific or academic professions, in liberal and technical professions, or in managerial positions, or as clerks. I will only state that apparently at least half of those people working in the professional jobs are Israeli Palestinians that migrate to Jerusalem from Arab cities in the north of Israel mostly, or in the Triangle, and they catch most of the good jobs, but still also East Jerusalemite Palestinians are also represented in those occupations. So we do see a kind of a new trend of a bit of advancement inside the Israeli labor market, and this data shows the rise in the number of East Jerusalem students in preparatory programs at higher education, Israeli higher education institutions in West Jerusalem. For example, the Mechina in the Hebrew University or Hadassah, the number in those programs has jumped in 1 year, almost doubled himself, from 135 to 286 students from East Jerusalem, and today the Israeli government gives scholarships to students from East Jerusalem who wants to study in Israeli higher education and to learn Hebrew before and etc. So we see much more students coming from East Jerusalem today enrolling into colleges and Israeli universities, which apparently we will show in a few years, maybe in the labor market as well, in the professional occupations. In the last 2 years, we did a kind of research in those workplaces where Palestinians and Israelis work side by side in West Jerusalem, places like shops in malls, also hospitals, but also factories and construction sites. This would be published soon, so I only brought some of the data, but we saw a very great a great difference, between the levels of satisfaction from work between Jews and Palestinians who work at the same place, or not always at the same place, but still you saw that Jews are very satisfied usually from the work. The levels of people who said I'm satisfied or very satisfied was 86, 77, 81. These are different factors at work, from the colleagues, managers, level of security, position, and etc. While the Palestinians showed very low level of satisfaction from the work. And even if they did the same job at the shop, let's say in the mall, they still showed a difference in the satisfaction. And we related to the position of the Palestinians in these places, right? Because some of them feel that they didn't really have a choice into going into this labor market because it's a result of the political situation and etc. I will move forward, just saying that we did notice that the professional cooperation in jobs sometimes do create social connections, only in minority of the cases, but at least among 15 to 20% of the workers, which you might say is significant relating to the situation. And we also tested the effect of sharing workspace, the effect of working side by side on opinions and positions towards the other, and we did show a positive effect on the Jewish workers, that for the first time some of them know and learn about the conditions in East Jerusalem, about the checkpoints and etc. And in a way changes in some way their attitudes. But on the Palestinian workers, we saw that it might work to both sides. Some of them, those conditions even strengthen their level of distrust and frustration in a way, and it depends in very much on what kind of positions they do in the workplaces. If they are working as clean personals and the Jews are clerks, of course it makes a difference. Ahmad, you want to relate for that?
Yeah. So I think that the research about all these feelings, it was it's very complicated. So if you can ask Palestinian how they pass, like it's not just by the research, also if you by the interviews, how they feel when they pass it, especially from the refugee camp, Shafat or Kafaraka, where they have a checkpoint. So I think the people over there is more negative from the works in West Jerusalem, and also like I think if you speak about between men and women, so women, they have more obstacles to come and work in West Jerusalem, because if it's the social issues and also the political issues. So you can see the women prefer to work inside the community, but also the women, they more satisfied if they work in West Jerusalem. So if they come to West Jerusalem, I think they feel more comfortable to work with the Jews, but the men is less. And also who's I think have academic degrees and who's educated, so if he have better position, so he also more satisfied.
Right.
Okay, let's open up for Q&A, okay? What do you think about those ideas to divide the city, like Chaim Ramon's plan or other plans? Let's say let all those parts which were annexed in '67 be separated from the city. Is it possible? Can it work? Or what do you think?
I think to separate by walls, it will become more complicated and more difficult, because if you see like these neighborhoods outside of, it's in the municipality borders, but in the same time it's in the outside of the wall, you can see how much it's very difficult for population to work and to live and to study or whatever. So I don't think this is the best solution to have even separated or unified city.
Of course, like Ahmad mentioned, it's not a solution that's supposed to be better off with the Palestinians. That's for one. For him, they're just a subject that should be, counted off the demographic balance. If it's good for the city, if it's good to the Jewish population, I don't think so, because I don't believe, first of all, in separation without agreement. And second of all, I don't believe in agreement with the separation. I think that there are new ideas today which are being more and more legitimized of maybe separating the sovereignty over the city, but keeping the city open for both sides, because this is one city. In any case,
one municipality?
No, even two municipalities, but still have, in a way, open borders. Of course, I'm talking in a kind of utopian situation, which today seems unrealistic that we will be able to reach such an agreement. But this is my preferred solution. If not, if the city will continue to be under Israeli sovereignty, so Israel must take responsibility over all the residents of the city and take off the barriers and allow free movement and allow integration, economic integration, social integration, from which the city will only benefit. So.
Yes.
Yes. I can see you put a lot of effort and work into this study. Wondering why you don't include joint events, happy events between West and East Jerusalem. For instance, the Festival of Light, which I filmed for Israeli television, Channel 98. That brings people into the old city, East Jerusalem. And there are other joint musical events that combine the city together. We go there, they go here. Is there a reason you just specifically concentrate on economics and employment and not events that take place?
I will answer, first of all, there are two kinds of integrations, right? The one is based on interest, or more spontaneous one, and one is the conditioned one, or the planned events that you talk about. I'm a bit skeptic about planned events in the conditions we have today. I think that we have such political barriers and limitations right now that it can be a fake facade to try to create a festival of light and saying that here everything is okay. But when we talk about shared interest, like working and earning, and everyone wants to develop himself, and it allows them that, I think it's much more sincere in a way, or realistic, That's first of all. And also the Festival of Light, again, it's a Jewish festival. It's a festival directed to Israeli audience. Of course, it takes place in the old city, but I don't know how much it's coordinated with the local Palestinians and how much they liked it and how much they are invited even.
They come to, I was there, it's very mixed.
Because they live
Arabs,
there.
Jews,
But
Arabian, everybody comes to
it's not a coexistence event in my category.
The last event I saw that everybody came, but stood apart, was the Formula race. The car race, the 20. Oh, so people just came because they were curious,
right?
But they already watched it over there. Us, we were here, and the East Jerusalemites watched it from there because they were curious to see those Lamborghini and stuff, but not because they felt.
But maybe Ahmad can tell us how the Palestinians see this festival.
So how?
Another question.
Let him answer this.
So I think it's also the Palestinian, first of all, see like here the separity is like occupation, like Israel is occupation, so they are occupied, and the same police or soldiers that keep whatever the light festival or the I don't know which festival that you have, but
nights.
Yeah, so it's the same police. So this is how we see it, and this is how, because everything in Hebrew, everything is come for the Israelis and for Palestinians, and also he always see that the soldier and checkpoints, or even in the soldiers also exist inside the East Jerusalem neighborhoods. So this is how see it. Yeah, I think this is the majority how they see that whatever municipality do. Even they have a new big street like 21 or 20 next to Beit Hanina and Shafat, and sometimes the light they see that it's most for the Israelis, for the Jews, not for the Palestinians. They services and give services to the Israelis, not for Palestinians. And that Israelis, they want a unified Jerusalem and not give East Jerusalem for Palestinians.
Someone else?
No.
When you say East Jerusalem, Old City, what about the Jewish quarter? There are Jews that living there. You consider them in the employment that they come into West Jerusalem. They live in East Jerusalem. They live in the Old City. But also, like the ghetto was in.
Almost half of the Jewish population today lives in East Jerusalem. First of all, in neighborhoods like Gilo, Ramot, Amon HaNetziv, they are all built in East Jerusalem. But when we separated East and West, we did a more realistic division, maybe between Jewish territories and Arab territories in a way, because if you work, because the green line doesn't really count when we Jews or Palestinians think about where to go, right? In a way, so as a Jew, I can feel safe to go in Gilo, even though it's in East Jerusalem, but it's not really East Jerusalem anymore. So our separation was not geopolitical, but a territorial one.
Yes, please. Questions? Guys, very interesting. Any forecast for the future that you have? I mean, where does the city go to?
Do you make recommendations beyond doing first state of the studies and collecting data and influencing different experiences on identity, etc.? Do you make recommendations for how to share spaces in the future, or events, creating different kinds of events, or workplaces or programs in workplaces?
Yeah, so as I said, we did a policy paper regarding the labor market and the working places, and we do see the integration of Palestinians from East Jerusalem into the labor market as a positive process that should be fostered, but again, with the vision of how can we position them in good occupations, right? Not being only the blue-collar workers of the city, but how can we create an equal situation within the labor market? And I do believe that if Jews and Palestinians will meet each other more and more in the work, sharing the same interest, but side by side, and the hierarchies won't be so strict, it will affect in a positive way the relationship between the communities. So I believe in that more than I would say I would recommend now let's do a shared festival somewhere. I would personally go to that, but I think that Jerusalemites are very skeptic today towards such actions in both sides. So I think we should focus on things that are practical, pragmatic, and not carrying any kind of such a symbolic or organized meaning.
Except that you spoke about that for East Jerusalemites working in West Jerusalem, that it can further enhance feelings of frustration. And you did mention briefly that it was connected maybe only to certain jobs. You see a different kind of trend amongst a more professional kind of roles?
Yeah, so Ahmad also mentioned that we saw that the ones who found better jobs or work with Jews, not under Jews, but who are side by side or even after, show more positive relation, right, to their work, more satisfaction, and etc. Under the current situations, probably Jews will always be more satisfied, okay, if the geopolitical situation will continue, but we can still play within
part-time Jews should be satisfied.
Maybe. That's also fine, at least one side, but we try to equalize it.
Places in Jerusalem I see Arabs coming in big numbers, the zoo and the science museum.
Right.
And both places made a point of having Arab guides. So it's very, so in a way, not necessarily festivals, but places that just people come.
Also, university right now is very, it's like the university, you can see a lot of Arabs. So I think in 5 years, next 5 years will be also more chance.
We see.
In French Hill, where I live, all the restaurants at night, students and the Arabs in Issawiyah. I can't go to Issawiyah. I'd like to, but they tell me it's dangerous. I have to go to the Galil to go to an Arab village, an Arab community. And I don't know what you have to say about that. Issawiyah is Jerusalem.
No.
But they said, don't go, it's dangerous. Why should it be dangerous? They can come to us, the supermarket, all the restaurants.
So just go.
It's integrated.
Don't listen.
You can go, but you know, Issawiyah it was, they have over 2,000 dunums. This is
and today?
the lands of Issawiyah, and today they have 2,500. So they took like
250.
Yeah, 200. No, 500. 2,500. Sorry.
So they have more today.
Dunums. No, it was 11,000. Sorry, 11,000. And today it's 2,500. So they took two military bases. They took also for the university, the Hadassah, French Hill, Givat Shapira. So all these lands was Issawiyah before. So the people they engaged somehow, and even they have between 2003 till 2013. It's BUNCOM, it's like Institute for Planning. They attempt to plan and to build housing over there because the housing is the biggest issue in East Jerusalem. It's a very, very big problem. But unfortunately, the municipality put a lot of obstacles and it's not work. So the people, even they have 750 dunums between a mountain of Scopus, At-Tur, and Issawiyah, and they want to build over there, come municipality and say, no, we don't want to build. So the people didn't have anywhere to go and to go around even. So they get to French Hill, even they go to the
because they don't have it. They don't have those services in their own village.
But they attacked the Udor. So they couldn't deliver the door, so they left. And that's what I heard.
It wasn't war, it was some of boxes. It was boxes. They attacked the boxes.
Anyway, I want to thank you. I want to give you membership cards of the Jerusalem Press Club.
No.
Thank you.
As a non-journalist member?
Associate members, you can enjoy all the benefits here, including the culinary delights of Tura restaurant. And thank you for your important work, and thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming.